What?
That couldn't happen now.
Oh no!
But there's no tolerance for that, and it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say, let's leave things the way they were. I mean, this is a good thing, and up at Colorado State, we reported earlier this week that there were some players saying that the COVID protocols weren't being followed, and the coaches were giving players a hard time and all kinds of things, and apparently the administration started looking into that, and in doing so came across some other allegations of racism and verbal abuse that they just say they're not going to put up with, and they're investigating, and they've shut down football for now.
You look under rocks and you find other stuff.
Yeah, and that's what happens. And again, but it's to the point of, back in the day, stuff like that would go on and people just didn't say anything about it. And that's not the case anymore.
Let me say this. You're a football player. You've been a football player all your life. You've had a variety of coaches. In fact, I'll ask you this question I asked of David Adams a while back. So you're in football, given the sport, the rough and tough of it. You've had some great coaches, some bad coaches, yada, yada. You're going to hear some language. They use it to motivate or whatever. So is this not a surprise? You're going to hear this stuff throughout your career.
You are, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it just doesn't feel. It just feels like players haven't felt like they could say anything.
Right. I think that's the difference.
That's the difference, is that they haven't felt that anybody would listen, and now they are. And whether it stems from Black Lives Matter, whether it's just these are the times.
These are the
whatever.
Times. Right.
They're getting an ear, and it's important that they do. Just reading that that group of Pac-12 players had a 2-hour conversation with Larry Scott yesterday. We don't know what's been said and what's coming out of that, but you got a group of football players at the university level who had a conversation with a conference commissioner, not their head coach or their athletic director, the conference commissioner.
Right. It'll make a difference.
I hope so, because what you want, and I think what everybody wants, is for college sports to be a great experience for these kids. I know a lot of these kids come in, with the thought that I'm doing this because I want to be a professional athlete. But there are so many kids who don't, and who can't, and who know they're not, and all they want is a good experience and an education. And if we have to go through this so that there's more of that, I'm all for that. Right.
I think you're going to see more of what we see at Iowa, because Iowa's investigation was concluded. They found some things there. Colorado State next. I'm sure that we're going to hear from other schools.
I think, and what I hope is that all these things are handled professionally. There has to be a sort of a line that can't be crossed.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that everybody that has some allegations against them should be fired. You have to deal with things, and maybe if you figure out ways to deal with this stuff, because I'm sure that when a player reports a coach on something, they're not trying to necessarily get the coach fired. They just want the situation to be dealt with,
to be fixed.
That's it.
Right.
So let's fix these things, and then let's get people in place that aren't going to do these things going forward. Get the kind of people with the kind of character that they're in it for the kids. Yes, it's a living and they're making money, but let's treat the players like they ought to be treated.
Sure. It's funny. In my time, in the last 10 years, maybe even longer, one of the biggest things, and you've covered the teams, and you've had college kids, one of the biggest problems for kids today is depression. So you're a high school kid that's a very good player. We've seen it throughout the years. You've been told you're the next best thing, you're the sliced bread, blah, blah, blah. You come on the campus, and then now the coaches are yelling at you, screaming at you. You're not good enough, blah, blah, blah.
And there's 30 other guys just like
as
you.
Good.
Just as good as you.
Of course you're going to be depressed.
Sure.
Of course, and that's one of the biggest things that there is on college campuses, the need or whatever to be better than what you are, obviously, and then to get yelled at.
Right. And I think there's a starting place for that somewhere along the line with these kids who, by the time they get on campus, have been so coddled.
Right.
Have been told they're, like you said, the greatest thing since sliced bread, when they're going to get to campus and there's going to be other guys who are the greatest thing since
They've been told
bread.
The same thing.
And you got to realize that, you get there to compete. There's a whole issue of players get onto campus and they don't want to compete. They get there and they realize there's somebody better ahead of them,
Sure.
and rather than compete and they leave.
We talked about this. You brought in the list of the top 25 sports movies ever.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
2-3 months ago. And I brought up the one-on-one with Robbie
One-on-one,
Benson.
yeah, Robbie Benson.
He was that guy. Remember, he recruited him, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then he benched him.
Right, he got there.
And then he saved his butt at the end when he hit the shot.
Right,
Then
right.
He said, I don't need you.
Yeah, I'm going wherever I can go wherever I want to go. That was that's a big pull for that movie, though. I don't know how many people really saw that.
Yeah, but it was kind of like almost exactly
But that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You get a coach, comes into your living room, tells you all these things about how great you are. Then you get to campus and line up behind all the other guys
Right.
who we said the same thing to.
Right.
But, those players and those athletes also have to understand that that's what's happening. Their parents have to help them along the way and say, look, I get it. And it's like some of these kids who say, they get Notre Dame and Alabama and Texas come calling.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, when you get to those places, guess what? You're one of 25 other guys in that recruiting class who have the same credentials as you do. So you got to think about, am I going to have the opportunity that I'm really looking for?
Sure.
And how many A-list recruits have, from Tucson have gone to places like that and ended up back here or somewhere else because that turned out to not be where they wanted to be.
Sure. We have a good show today. We have Jonathan Pearlman of FC Tucson. They have a big game tomorrow, local game, the first real pro game here during all this mess.
Yeah, right. They started their season. They're 1-1. They've got their home opener tomorrow night, and
Let's talk to him. We're going to take the break.
Take the break.
Come right here.
Doing.
He's already ready for us on the line, and we'll come back and take a quick break here on 1030 The Voice. The ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside co-host Jay Gonzalez. And now on the phone we have Jonathan Pearlman of FC Tucson. Jonathan, how the heck are you? I'm sure the people over there are very excited about tomorrow's big game.
We're super excited, and Steve and Jay, great to be with you. Journalistic legends. You be on this show.
I think legends. Go ahead.
I want to make sure I do a good job, so I've done the best prep I can.
It just means that we've been along here
I was
too
going to
long.
say, if you're saying legends, that just must mean old. That's it. That's all. That's the only meaning to that.
Let's have some fun here.
I'm getting a bit longer in the tooth here these days as well, so it's great to be here. Yeah, we're incredibly excited. It's been a unique time for everybody, a difficult time, a tragic time for the country and for our community, and obviously for Arizona itself. And the sporting world, we were sort of on the forefront and the canary in the coal mine when the first things to shut down was pro sports. And to be able to finally get back home after being on the road for 2 matches, which again created its own anxiety. Obviously, we're flying commercial. We're not the team that can charter flights, so we came back healthy and well, and we're just incredibly excited to be playing our home stadium, even though it will be without fans. We have a big event at the drive-in downtown, so we're really excited just to be back. And obviously, we want to get a win for the community, and obviously for ourselves, we're right where we need to be to start. We got some points on the road, which is big in soccer, and these road trips are incredibly challenging for our team because we travel further than anyone else does, being one of the only West Coast teams in our league. So we're excited. Period.
So I would assume that I think you started like in March, April, getting the guys getting ready for the season. I know Jay was doing his stuff with the Sugar Skulls. And then you're thinking, are we ever going to come back? Did you ever think that? And then now here you are.
Well, and Jay is a great person really to reference on this. Look, you're in the world of minor league sports, and it's a huge investment for any ownership group. And when a situation comes like this, when you're a local team, you're not able to have the dollars from national sponsors or from a national TV deal, and you're making it on ticket sales and local sponsors, all of whom are suffering greatly. And obviously, we're not able to sell tickets when there's a pandemic. We're not able to, fulfill our sponsorships. We have to find new and different creative ways. So if you're asking me, was that show going to be back? Well, if you're in the sports world, as Jay will tell you, it's not if or when, it's when. Okay, so all of our careers are limited, and all of our stays anywhere are always on the timeline. So I think to be professional about it, you always have to be ready for anything. I did think we were going to come back. We had a really long conversation with our ownership prior to the season. This was a long-term plan, way past 2021 and 22 to have a pro team, the community soccer team, to have a team grow its level. So, but yeah, there were some moments where we were furloughing people, obviously, just to cut costs for the short term and not knowing what the circumstance would be. I mean, COVID is a force of nature. It doesn't care about sporting schedules or people's jobs or anything. It only cares about spreading, and it's a disease without a vaccine. So obviously I was concerned, but ultimately in sports world and in life, you control your controllables. So my job was to do a great job talking to our sponsors, making sure our players stayed safe and healthy and fit and inspired and not nervous. You have a responsibility in my role to do that. But there was certainly some moments where I was talking to my wife, and obviously she being on the forefront as a nurse at the same areas of the ICU had greater doubts maybe than I did. But it was certainly a trying time all the way till we started to come back to begin training. And obviously, starting the season back and going to Miami was a big moment, and it was great to get a win there. And obviously, we're hoping to do so on Saturday night. Well,
you guys were fortunate to be able to keep, holding it off until you were able to, have a season as opposed to, canceling the thing. So, I think you guys are pretty fortunate to maybe just that, being you're an outdoor sport for one, but, to also just have the ability to, to delay rather than cancel. I mean, what were some of the conversations that went on as far as that goes in terms of let's just keep holding it off until we can finally play?
So I'm privileged to be on the Board of Governors for FC Tucson along with Amanda Power. So in the USL, you have the championship, which has 35 teams, and then you have the R League, which has 12 teams. Yeah, obviously there was a vote. The voting really was a big part of it because the ownerships, were taking in the league was asking the ownerships to take a risk and say, listen, can we wait a while? Can we not cancel? Can we not cut our losses? And the league did a lot to help us with costs and deferring things and buying us the time we needed to have the potential for having a season. So, the process was very long and was votes. Serious votes. I would say we had our trepidations. Obviously for me, it was safety first. It was about safety. We all wanted to play, and our ownership was committed financially to playing. But, when you look at this, you also look at it from a moral lens. Is it the right thing? Is it the safe thing? Is it the best thing for our players? And we came down to the realization for us that, look, we felt like we should wait to try to do this. We felt that our players, obviously, that as of recently, the people who have been spreading the most were, our 22-year-olds to 40-year-olds, and we felt like the players were better off in our care in doing this than anywhere else. We were taking great care of them, and we were helping be part of the solution to stop the spread because we were spreading that message and doing things within our community. So, but you're right, Jay. We were able to hang on for a long time, and I credit the USL and I credit our ownership at Phoenix Rising, to being patient and waiting for that opportunity for us to play. And so far, obviously, we've had match cancellations. Everything's been done with abundance of care. There's a 51-page, COVID, return to play document protocol, and we just hope we can stay healthy. And every game is really a gift.
I've known you for a long time. Obviously, kids grew up in your guys' program, in the soccer in Tucson. Now I'm seeing that the local kids are showing up on FC Tucson. You have Tommy Silva, who I know his brother played with my son, and now the younger kid is amazing, apparently. And then you have AJ Valenzuela, who scored a winning goal not too long ago. What's going on with Tucson?
Well, first of all, Tucson, as you know, Steven, your son being an excellent player himself on the 95 age group, along with Ryan Silva, which was also a state championship age group for Tucson. Always my goal was to elevate Tucson players, but within that goal, whether we were doing the developmental team or whether it was FC Tucson Youth or ODP or working for RSL in the academy, the idea was to raise the standard and have Tucson players meet that standard. I think that's why TSA was formed originally. Those were my goals for Tanqueray as a community club, and now with the clubs coming together, we were always trying to raise that standard because we believe that Tucson had top players, and that's been proven obviously with Donnie Toya being now in the MLS along with Luis Robles, who is played for our national team and captains Inter Miami. But players like Tommy Silva, a player that I've worked with and worked in my club since he was 11 years old, who was special, who I've had a role in guiding and a privilege to work with a player like that. AJ Valenzuela, who's come straight through Tucson, through a championship season with Pima and through his work at, getting him to San Diego State University. These are great character individuals, and these are players that have come up big in big moments everywhere they've gone. And so it was great to see AJ get the game winner in a unique striker role for him. And I signed AJ because he's the first one in and the last one to leave. And he takes incredible care of himself, and he's got a lot of potential. But the greatest thing about having a Tucson team is to try and have Tucson players. And I still say to the players here, look, we have no illusions about it. If there's a Tucson player here that's all things being equal, we want to promote that Tucson player. But obviously, as we know with U of A basketball as well, you have to be successful and have fans to have a successful program to draw people in, to keep people engaged, and to grow your team. So we have to be successful on the field. But anytime we can have academy players come in that we've had training from Tucson recently, and have a Tommy Silva come in and contribute before he goes off to UCLA, or having AJ Valenzuela come back and contribute goals professionally, it's the happiest moments that I can have personally. I mean, they're really the rewarding ones that I have, and obviously we want to have more of those. So we'll continue to work with the youth community in all areas, and in areas that haven't been discovered, on the players on the south side and in Nogales and the greater southern Arizona area. I mean, we have to do a better job of finding these talents and developing them, and obviously FC Tucson feels like it has to play a role in that.
Real quick, we have about a minute, just a little over a minute, to talk about Saturday's game with Union Omaha. It's a truncated schedule, so you guys have to win now.
Yeah, every game is a cup final, we like to say. And we're going to have Union Omaha is coming in here off a big win in their home opener against defending champions North Texas, and they're a gritty, hard-working team. We feel like we're looking good in training, have a great plan against them. But obviously, you can't be at the game. You should be checking it out at the El Toro Flicks Drive-In on Congress and I-10. You can buy tickets there or at fctucson.com. Or if you need to, it's socially distanced there. But if you're high risk and you want to watch the game, absolutely ESPN Plus. It's a great broadcast. And again, we appreciate all the support we've gotten from the community, and we're again continuing to try to do things for the community and for those who can't do for themselves right now. And we play for everyone. The badge, we play for the badge, and we play for Tucson.
Right. Well, welcome back. We're both happy for you.
Yeah, we're really happy for you. Anytime you can have successful pro sports, in our community, it's a good thing.
Right. Thanks a bunch.
We're grateful for you guys.
Thanks.
Hey, best of luck tomorrow night and the rest of the season. Let's do this again.
Thanks so much, Jay and Steve. Anytime.
Great. That was Jonathan Pearlman of FC Tucson. Really appreciate your time. We're going to come back here on the other side on 1030 The Voice. Hey, welcome back to Why on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside co-host Jay Gonzalez. It's always good to have Jonathan Pearlman. He's very insightful.
He is, and it's great that there's such a focus on the local kids.
Yeah,
and I mean, when you have pro sports in a community like ours, and you got FC Tucson, you've got the Sugar Skulls, and
you guys had a lot of guys,
the Road Runners. You want to have local guys, not just for interest, but to show these guys that there's an opportunity here.
Right,
yeah,
right.
We had a number of local guys on the Sugar Skulls: Cam Gaddis, Robert Metz, Antonio Rosales. It was a thing that it was, and a coach, Brandon Sanders. So it's really a thing where you just want to let kids know that there's an opportunity for them. And the Sugar Skulls was something where we really tried to let people know that you have a chance, and you come out, you get on the Sugar Skulls. Who knows what can happen for you? Whether you're a coach or a player. So
well, it's been long like that. When I covered the Toros, and I'm sure you did too, at Vosburg, you'd had some guys who would play here through the system, and Kenny Lofton was not that he's a local, but he was a local UA guy.
Sure.
That brought some excitement to it.
Right, and and people love rooting for the people that they know.
Right.
The people that they know, people they grew up with, whatever that might be. And you do have to be careful, that you get guys that are, they're legit, and you want them to be legit. And the Sugar Skulls, I can say did that. These guys are good players. So it's great to see that. And soccer is such a huge sport here in Tucson.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through the soccer thing. My son played soccer he played a little youth soccer, and then he played in high school. And my daughter got started with soccer, and I thought that was going to be her sport until she started playing volleyball, and then volleyball became her number one sport. And she didn't play it in high school because her volleyball and soccer seasons were the same.
Right.
And she chose volleyball. But soccer is a big deal here. If
Sure.
you've ever been a part of the Fort Lowell Shootout or the Pima Cup or any one of those huge tournaments that bring teams from all over the country and even from Mexico and whatnot. So it's a big deal, and it's
Right.
great to see FC Tucson taking some of these kids and putting them on the field.
Right. And they had their first game, at least locally. There's their third game overall. I wanted to talk to you real quick about some AIA stuff. So they're going to have the season, or at least attempt to have it in
Right.
October. The practice starts next month early. They're not going to let the kids shake hands. They're not going to get
No high
close.
fives.
No, nothing in terms of that.
Everybody on the sideline has to wear masks.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
It's funny because I was reading that the masks socially distanced on the sidelines. Okay, so you're socially distanced on the sidelines, but what are you doing on the field? You're not social distancing.
Well, you're just cutting down the odds is what you're doing a little, as much as you possibly can. I mean, in the end, if you're going to play football, you got to play
you
football,
get it, right? You get it. What I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. You got to play football. I mean, what I did see, I think, in at least on the college level, and I'm assuming at every level of football, they're going to let the teams spread out further on the sidelines.
Oh, okay.
I think college football, it's between the 30s is what it is.
I don't.
Between the 35s or between the 30-yard lines. And it's, if you've ever been on a college sideline, on the bench, I went to, Rich told me, when his dad was coaching, got me bench passes for a game at Washington. I think it was his dad's last year. And that bench space, when you've got,
crowded.
6'5", 300-pound guys running around, it's crowded.
Yeah.
It was a horrible place to watch the game from. I'm 5'9". I missed a lot of the game because, it's a confined space. So I can see where, in order to socially distance or to as much as they possibly can, that they really are going to have to spread them out so that people aren't on top of each other, because you are on top of each other on a sideline.
I bet you when you got the passes, you say, yes, I'm going to be down. And then you go through, he says, what the heck was I thinking?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, I wanted to go back to my seat, because what I did was I got tickets to a group of us went to the game, and I think it was a group of 6 of us, and we made the road trip up to Seattle. And so we took turns with the bench pass going down, and I'm like, I said I want the fourth quarter. Right?
Sure.
Well, it was an exciting game. It came down to the last couple of plays. It was a game that Washington scored like in the last minute of the game to win the game. I didn't see the play.
So let me ask you: are you confined to the sidelines where when the media comes down for like the last 5 minutes, but we could roam around?
Right.
And see?
I was in the bench area.
Yeah, so
I couldn't be
that's not
outside
good.
where we would stand as news media.
That's not good.
We were, news media had to stay out of the bench area.
Right.
No, it was a bench pass for I was part of the team. So I had to stay confined to that space where only the team could go.
Well, that's kind of where I want to go with it too, because I totally get that. So for 20 some years, I was on the sideline, on the opposite sideline where you were at on the basketball court. So on the floor, right there for 23 years. So then we moved some of us to the concourse area, next to the band. So you're on the floor. I would rather be where I'm at now, because you can see things happen. When you're on the floor, you can see they're on top of you, but it's not as designed.
Yeah, well, I guess because I don't have anybody in front of me, and I'm pretty much at center court.
But you're not even watching the game.
I'm just right of center. I mean, I see what I see. Now I get when when a play starts to happen, I look at my computer, but I feel like I do see the game. But I could see where if you're up a little higher and watching guys move. You're right. I'm not watching guys move around. If there's a guy in the corner and he's about to take a three, I have to lean in
to see
who it is.
Right.
Because I don't see that guy go over there. The ball goes to the corner. I assume there's somebody there to catch it.
Right.
But it's an interesting vantage point. No, honestly, a sideline seat. You're not on the sidelines to see the game.
No.
What you're seeing is you're kind of experiencing what the game looks like.
feel.
I'll tell you what really caught me at a college football game, the first time that I was on, went to the sidelines of a game, was how fast the game really is.
Sure.
And then I got to be on the sidelines of a Cardinals game for about a quarter, and the speed of that versus the speed of the college game, such a difference.
Right.
And it was like, whoa.
That's when they get paid millions.
Now it's like, okay, I get it. I get why, the level of athlete that you're talking about.
Right. So I think I've discussed this with you. I can't remember now. But since you've been on the sideline as a reporter, now as a sideline guy, when you were as a reporter, because you go down, like I say, early,
right,
with about 5-8 minutes, it depends on
right.
the situation. Was there a game or a situation that you were there and you said, wow, I'm glad I was there? Late field goal.
I was on the sideline for the Oklahoma field goal.
Because I was on that sideline.
I was on the sideline for that. I was on the sideline. The first time I ever was on the sideline of a game, I covered the '85 Sun Bowl, where Max Zendejas missed a field goal that won the game. The game ended up being tied.
Right.
I was on the sideline for that, and that was, I remember him. He hit the field goal, and it just didn't sound good.
Uh-huh.
It sounded like a thud. You could tell it just didn't, and he missed it.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I'm like, and there were a lot of U of A fans at that game. I mean, I think the game was, I don't know if the game was a sellout, but there were a lot of people there, and that was the first time I'd ever been on the sideline for a college game. But another game that, and it was kind of a weird thing that when I was covering the team, it was the first year I covered football, and Arizona played at Oklahoma.
I was there.
Okay, so you were there for that.
Yeah.
So then the next week they had a home game against Eastern Michigan. It was going to be a terrible game. And then the following week, Arizona was going to be playing USC, and Larry Smith was going to be coming to Tucson for the first time. But in that weekend that Arizona played Eastern Michigan, Oklahoma and USC played each other at the Coliseum. So instead of having me cover the Michigan game,
you went over there.
They sent me to cover the USC game so that I could I could stay for the weekend, get an interview with Larry Smith, get an interview with Rodney Peete, who was the quarterback out of Saguaro High School, do those interviews, and then come back and cover the. So I was on the sidelines of a game at the Coliseum that was a sellout, 90,000 plus at the game. Both teams were ranked. It was a great atmosphere. That one I remember. That was like being at a Final Four or whatever.
Sure.
The atmosphere of the game. It was an ABC national game. USC was a top 5 team that year. I think they ended up. They almost won the national championship.
They beat Oklahoma. Then they must have been.
But they played Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma that game, and that was an experience. That was college football the way I grew up watching it.
Sure. Then you happen to be my best, most after those Hail Mary catches you've seen a time or two in the last 10 years was and you may have been covering the team at this time. Musgrave gets stopped at the 1-inch line by Darrell Lewis.
That was my first year back as a spectator.
It was unbelievable to me.
Now our seats, we were sitting in section 18 at the time, which is the goal line
right there.
That goal line and that play happened right in front of us.
Right. To me, that was the most unbelievable.
Wow. That one that whole game gave me tingles.
Right,
I mean, that was my first year back as a fan.
Had to be like 89, 91.
The 90 season.
That was my final year.
1990 season.
And I was there in my hair and the back of my skin, like, holy moly.
Yeah. No, the 88 and 89 games, I was on the sideline when, the Oklahoma field goal, the game at Washington the year before when Doug Pfaff kicked a field goal to win that game. There was a late fumble. Arizona picked it up, kicked a field goal to win that game. All of those. There were a couple other game-winning type field goals in those years. There was 2 against Washington. There was 1 against Oklahoma. I remember I got to be on the floor. On the field. I was filling in for Jack Magruder, and in the '87 season, Arizona played up at the Rose Bowl, and being on the field at the Rose Bowl was a really cool thing.
Right. That's one of the places I hadn't gone to. I went to the Coliseum a couple times, but the biggest or the scariest thing in that area was hoping to get to your car unscathed.
Yeah. Wow. Around the Coliseum was just not a good place to be. You were hoping for day games when you went when you went to the Coliseum.
Right.
But the Rose Bowl, great experience to be on the field at the Rose Bowl.
Let's come back and take a break and hope that we get to see some football this next.
I think we're gonna. Let's take a break and we can talk more about that.
Okay, here on 1030 The Voice. Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera alongside Jay Gonzalez. Before we started the show, we saw, or you saw a report, I saw it about an hour ago, that one of our colleagues, a guy we know and seemingly trust, Mr. Jason Shear, had said that, according to some of his sources, that the Pac-12 may be considering to not play.
Well, that there have been some discussions allegedly, and I'm going to say allegedly, okay?
That's good.
That there have been some discussions about canceling the season, which I think, everybody's probably had that discussion.
I agree.
I mean, there's been a lot of thought that if one of the Power 5 schools does cancel the season, go ahead and cancel their season, that the most likely candidate would be the Big Ten, actually. So, look, that's obviously in play. I mean, we're about to find out what's going to happen. First of all, in the next couple of weeks, the teams will be starting actual practice.
And you got good news today with that.
Right.
California.
Right. There was some good news out of California. But the teams are going to start practicing, and then students are going to start getting on campus. And, then what happens?
Right.
But the good news for the Pac-12 today, that California laid out the guidelines necessary for them to be able to, start practice. So the California schools, UCLA, USC, Cal, and Stanford are all set, and they know what they have to do to start having practice on August 17th when the league says it's okay to do that. So that's the good news. But again, so now we see most of the schools that are starting classes, those that are on the semester system, like the University of Arizona, will start in the last week of August. We're going to start to find out. There's another. Games aren't going to start till about the 26th of September at the earliest. So we'll see. Are they going to be able to have practice without starting an outbreak? Then the students get on campus and parties and all that stuff start. How are they going to be able to control it? I was with a few guys today who aren't very confident of that because they're just saying students are going to get on campus and students are going to student, right? They're going to do what students do. So
I hope you didn't want to fight them.
No, I didn't want to fight them today. The last guy I want to fight is still Mark Harlan. I think that look, there's a lot of skepticism in terms of what the students are going to be, and when I say students, I'm talking about the general student population, what they're going to be willing to do to But they got to go to school. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I truly think that, and we've seen this a little trickle out, little by little, that more players are going to jump ship and not play.
You've got players opting out at every level. You got players in the NFL opting out. You got players at the college level. There's a lot of the top players. I shouldn't say a lot, but a number of top players have said, "I'm just not going to play. I'm not going to risk it." You can get COVID and you can recover from it, and it won't kill you, but it can cause other problems, long-term problems, heart problems, lung problems. They're not going to risk their NFL careers on that. I get that. That's perfect. That's perfectly fine. I have zero problem with anybody opting out.
Right.
So the question is, who wants to stay and who doesn't?
So we know that the football in the NFL is a lot different than it is on the college level, and you're a big fan of. It's very obvious. I used to be. I'm no longer. So do you go to watch the football? Do you go watch to support your team? Do you go? Why do you go?
I go to Arizona games because I love the school. I love the community. I love what it stands for in Tucson. I want Arizona football to win. And I go for the entertainment. I love college football. I love the games. I love the atmosphere, and I root for the team. And I bleed for that stuff. I mean, I get, it's a bad Sunday on a day after a loss, and it's a great Sunday on a day after a win. It's just a better day for me on Sunday after a win. So I'm dug in on Arizona football, and I have been for pretty much my entire life. So I go for the entertainment value of it. To me, it's an event to go tailgate and just have a great time, and hopefully at some point get to a Rose Bowl. I love that.
I think that's the general consensus of the people who go. It's like Arizona basketball, just to an example. They want to be good, and they're good or whatever, but people go because they're, one, good, but they're supporting the program.
Right. And I do want to support the program. I mean, look, all you need to know is I kept my season ticket through the John Malkovich years. That's all you need to know. And I went to every home game Malkovich coach, and I even went to a road game.
game.
I went to the Wisconsin game, that awful
You're a
game.
glutton for punishment.
But part of it is, I wanted to see the spectacle of college football at Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see that. I didn't regret going, even though they got smoked. We had a great time. We took in the whole college football atmosphere, at Wisconsin, and that's why I went.
Right. No. I just brought that up because it's today you have to be supportive of the team because who knows? We don't know about attendance now. We haven't heard that yet. Could be 10,000, could be 5,000, whatever, if any.
And then the NFL. I just love the NFL because I like football. I don't have a favorite team in the NFL. I just like watching games. Now I'm in a football pool and I do maybe a little side gambling and stuff like that, and that keeps my interest. But I would rather sit and watch a day of NFL football on my couch than go to a Cardinals game.
Yeah, I totally get it. Me too.
Right?
We got a call. Pancho, thanks for calling in. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Jay, you and I are Cougar alumnus, my man. I think you may know my family members. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but what year did you graduate from Sorrel?
Do I have to tell?
1977.
1977.
You graduated with my sister Janet, who dated Tom Wiedenbauer for years.
I was on Tom Wiedenbauer's Little League baseball team.
Tom Wiedenbauer was a stud, was he not?
Oh, yeah. I love that guy. You know what? He was an athlete, one of those guys who, he was BMOC, big man on campus. He was the quarterback of the football team.
Oh,
he was a great
like nobody's business.
Right.
That guy could punt the hell out of the ball.
He was a great baseball player, and he was the nicest guy on the planet. I loved him.
He was. His parents were pretty special too. That's great. So the reason I called, Steve, I wanted to give you an update on season football tickets.
Go, please.
And I don't know if you know what happened, but we got notification recently that we had until today to make a decision about what we're going to do. Those of us that have paid for our season tickets already. It was either leave it as it is and attend the game, or ask for a full refund, which would have been the stupidest thing to do for ICA, that's for sure. Or take a credit for next year and wait. Or what I did, let them have it as a donation to the Wildcat Club and wait till next year and pay again.
Wow.
And my boy Scott said that not many people have done that, but if you have, but we're getting double points for Wildcat Club. And someday I hope to sit behind the bench in Eugene during a men's game like you guys got to do your entire career and write about it.
Well, Pancho, I thank you, and my son, who's an employee of the athletic department, thanks you for the donation.
Hey, I'm a Wildcat for life. There's a lot of us out there. If you're gonna give your support and then ask for a refund, then I'm like, wait.
Just
come on, really?
Real quick, Pancho. Good to hear your voice. I know you're very tuned to what's going on. Just because I don't want to upset Jay here, but the chances of a season going on. What do you think?
Well, I already answered the question. I decided to give my tickets away and keep the whole thing as a donation. So I am completely uncertain. I don't know. Everything seems to be like the government or the entities or whoever's in control just wants to go, okay, let's let you out of the cage for a little bit. No, that didn't work. You're all too stupid. We have to bring you back again. And the worst thing is to get started and then get stopped, The NBA somehow in the bubble seems to be working, and politically that's outstanding. I love it. I mean, good for them if that's the way it's going to go. And MLB is doing okay. But everything else, like, high school football, high school sports. My daughter, Steve, she played water polo. She got totally hosed last year in her senior year. She was doing great. And they asked her to come back as a graduate student. She does not want to play again. But she's going to go back as a grad student, interestingly enough. But it's so uncertain. The powers that be are going to make decisions, and we all have to abide, unfortunately, or with trust, unfortunately, whichever side of that fence you fall on.
Well, Pancho, I'm sitting here trying to figure out who Tom Wiedenbauer dated in high school. So, that's where my attention has gone on that.
She was a cheerleader, and her name was Janet. And Steve will tell you her last name later.
Maybe okay. Yes, Pancho.
If you can even remember.
Good to hear from you, Pancho. We got to go here. We got about 10 seconds.
Pancho, thanks a bunch for calling in. And
the last minute, yeah.
Thanks.
Again, appreciate the donation. Have a great weekend.
Hey, how's Scott? Does he call you anymore, Steve?
No, he hasn't in a while. Thanks, everybody. Happy birthday, Jay. We couldn't get to it.
See you on Monday.
See you Monday. Thanks.